Hey, welcome back. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Echoes of the Ancients. You know, living in New York, you get used to seeing all kinds of things. But every so often, you'll see something that just stops you cold. A person, a moment, a story that feels completely out of place. It makes you wonder, where did that come from? How did it get here? That feeling, that disorientation, is at the heart of one of history's strangest and most enduring tales. It's a story that doesn't come from a bustling modern city, but from a quiet, rural 12th century English village. And it asks a question that has never been satisfactorily answered. What do you do when two children, who are not like anyone you've ever seen, simply walk out of a field? This is the mystery of the Green Children of Woolpit. Our story takes place in Suffolk, England, during the reign of King Stephen, sometime around the year 1150. The village of Woolpit was, and still is, a small agricultural community, known then for the wolf-trapping pits that gave it its name. It was an ordinary place, until, one day during the harvest, villagers working near the pits made an extraordinary discovery. Two children, a boy and a girl, were found huddled together, terrified. They were dressed in strange, unfamiliar clothes. But that wasn't the strangest part. Their skin, every inch of it, was tinged a vivid, startling green. The villagers, as you can imagine, were shocked. They approached the children, who were weeping and speaking in a language no one could understand. They were taken to the local landowner, Sir Richard de Con. He gave them shelter, but they refused all food offered to them. They seemed to be starving, yet they would not eat. That is, until someone brought in freshly harvested green beans, still in their stalks. The children's eyes lit up. They gestured frantically, but they didn't know how to open the bean pods. Someone showed them, and they devoured the raw beans. For a long time, that's all they would eat, slowly weaning themselves onto bread and other foods. As they regained their strength and began to learn English, an even more incredible story emerged. The girl, who was the more talkative of the two, explained their origin. She said they came from a land she called St. Martin's Land. She described it as a twilight place, where the sun never rose, and the light was perpetual, like the glow just after sunset. All the people there, she said, were green like them. They lived across a broad river, from which they could see a luminous land, a bright land, in the distance. One day, she and her brother were tending their father's flocks when they heard a loud sound, like bells. They followed this sound into a cave. They wandered in the darkness for what felt like an age, until they finally emerged, blinded by the harsh sunlight, into the wolf pits of Suffolk. And that was it. They couldn't find their way back. Now, the boy, sadly, grew sickly and died not long after they were found. But the girl, who was given the name Agnes, thrived. She lost her green coloration, was baptized, and eventually married a man from a nearby village. She lived a seemingly normal life, but always with this unbelievable story as her past. Our sources for this are two 12th century chroniclers, William of Newburgh and Ralph of Coggeshall. They recorded the story not as folklore, but as a curious historical event. So what are we to make of this? As an engineer, my mind immediately goes to the possible explanations. And there are several, each fascinating in its own way. The first, and most popular, is the famine theory. The 12th century was a time of great hardship. The period known as the Anarchy under King Stephen was marked by war, social breakdown, and famine. Malnutrition, specifically a condition called chlorosis from iron deficiency, can give the skin a greenish pallor. Could these children have been refugees from a persecuted community, perhaps Flemish immigrants who faced violence? They fled into the dense, dark forests of Suffolk, became malnourished, and emerged disoriented, speaking a language, Flemish, that the Saxon villagers wouldn't understand. The twilight land could be the deep, sunless woods. The loud sound, perhaps the bells of Berry Street Edmonds Abbey. It's a solid, logical explanation, but it doesn't fully explain why the children described an entirely different sun, or why their story was recorded with such peculiar, specific details that don't quite match a simple refugee tale. Then there's the more symbolic interpretation. The color green has deep meaning in medieval thought. It could represent the wild, the unnatural, the fairy realm. Stories of fairy folk kidnapping human children or human children stumbling into fairy mounds are common across Celtic and English folklore. The Green Children could be a folk memory of such an encounter, a story that crystallized around a real, but more mundane, event. They are outsiders in every sense, literally from another world, who must be Christianized and brought into the fold, losing their green color as they do so. This story, then, becomes a parable about salvation and assimilation. And, of course, there's the possibility that speaks to our modern imagination, the extraterrestrial theory. It's a stretch for a 12th century mind, but to us, the details are eerily familiar. Beings from a world with a different sun? A journey through a tunnel? Emerging disoriented into a new, bright environment? It reads like a primitive description of something profoundly alien. Now, I'm not saying it was aliens, but the structure of the narrative is one we've seen 1,000 times in science fiction. It's a testament to how the story's core, a journey from one world to another, transcends its time. For me, sitting here in my apartment, looking out at the endless human tapestry of New York, I'm less interested in picking a single answer. What fascinates me is the human reaction, then and now. Think about those villagers. They didn't drive the children out. They didn't destroy them out of fear. They took them in. They fed them. They cared for them. They taught them language. They integrated them. In an age we often think of as superstitious and brutal, there was an act of profound compassion at the center of this weird tale. Agnes the Green Girl wasn't a monster. She became a neighbor, a wife, a member of the community. The story endures because it's not really about the color green, or subterranean worlds, or even aliens. It's about that moment of radical otherness meeting ordinary life. It's about the shock of the unfamiliar walking right into your village and the choice that follows. Do you recoil, or do you reach out? The people of Woolpit reached out, and in doing so, they turned a mystery into a human story. The Green Children left their color behind, but they left us with a question that's as green and alive as ever. How do we treat the stranger who arrives from a world we cannot even imagine? Perhaps that's the echo we're meant to hear, not from a mythical St. Martin's land, but from our own past, reminding us of a simple, beanstalk lesson in humanity. Thank you for listening to Echoes of the Ancients. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone. It's these shared curiosities that keep history alive. This episode was produced by Light Knot Studios. You can find more of our work and discover other stories waiting to be heard at lightknotstudios.com. Until next time, I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. Keep listening.